How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Flagrant Talk Sports Podcast. It's Moses here, coming to you guys today with a solo NHL video. Last NHL video I did was on the Four Nations, which was an amazing tournament. Canada coming out with the victory, but we turn our focus back to the hockey season as it is in the NHL, which has been an insane one. We're going to be breaking down the trade deadline today, a crazy deadline at that, one of the craziest in the last few years. I'm going to give a couple predictions about what I see happening in the wild card races, maybe some playoff things. But yeah, we're going to jump right into the video today, starting off with the trade deadline. I'm going to walk us through starting in March. The deadline was last Friday, March 7th. Starting March 1st with the Panthers acquiring Seth Jones, the 30-year-old D-man coming over from Chicago. The Panthers acquire Seth Jones and a 2026 fourth-round pick for goaltender Spencer Knight, who is 23, was slated to be maybe the passing of the torch once Bobrovsky calls it quits. But the Panthers decided to give that up in hopes of going back-to-back after winning the Stanley Cup last season. They're pushing for another title this year. They give up Spencer Knight, and they also give up a conditional 2026 first-round pick as well. I do like this trade for the Panthers. Obviously, Seth Jones is a veteran D-man, has been in the league for a while. He'd been with Chicago since the 2021 season. He has missed some time this year with a foot injury, but going to come in, make an immediate impact with the Panthers. On the flip side of that, for Chicago, could be their goaltender of the future in Spencer Knight. He recorded a 41 save debut last week in his first game with the Blackhawks, win at that. So very bright future for the Blackhawks. Love the deal for both sides. I'm not going to stick with team. As I said, I'm going to go day by day up until the trade deadline. The next move on the same day, the Predators kind of starting their mini fire sale, I would say. They give up Gustav Nyquist, the right winger, to the Wild. Currently having a really tough season, just like the rest of Nashville. Only 21 points this year compared to 75 last season, a career high for him. This is going to help the Wild out right now, who are dealing with an injury bug. Joel Eriksson Ek, and Kirill Kaprizov, I apologize, both dealing with injuries right now for the Wild. The Wild on the cusp of playoff contention, trying to squeeze their way in and maintain that wild card spot. This move hopefully should do that, giving Nyquist a new team, new energy. The Predators in return receive a 2026 second round pick. So pretty all right deal, low risk deal there for both teams. Fan of the move as well. March 4th, we get to a deal that is close and dear to my heart. The Edmonton Oilers acquire a young, fiery forward in Trent Frederick. They also acquire a forward in Max Jones and rights to the prospect Peter Hauser from the Boston Bruins. In return, the Bruins get D-man Max Warner. Warner and 2025 second round pick and a 2026 fourth. Pretty good haul there. You give up a guy in Trent Frederick who, since his rookie year, I believe his first game as a Bruin, got in a fight. Just love the energy that he brought to the ice every night. The Oilers are definitely going to enjoy that. Trying to get back to the Stanley Cup as well after falling to the Panthers last season. And the third team in this deal, just for some money purposes and they also worked their way to get a prospect as well. The Devils are getting rights to prospect Shane LaChance, a Massachusetts native, young guy who could be, with Hughes on the line in a few years if things go accordingly. But Hurts is a Bruins fan, but great deal for the Oilers. That is the only deal for the 4th. The next day, March 5th, the Panthers back at it again, and they're not done. They get goalie Vitek Vanacek, who has been around the league, was in San Jose, kind of just getting by. He used to be, starting tender for the Devils a couple years ago. Good ad for the Panthers. Nice little backup there for Bobrovsky as well. In return, the San Jose Sharks receive forward Patrick Giles. Again, just kind of a replacement move there after losing Spencer Knight. The next move on this day was from the Tampa Bay Lightning, getting familiar face Yanni Gourde, a centerman, right wing Oliver Bjorkstrand, and D-man Kyle Aucoin, as well as a 2026 fifth-round pick. They have to retain 50% of Gourde's salary in this deal with the Kraken, who receive centerman Michael Eyssimont, a 2025 second-round pick via Toronto, a 2026 first, and a 2027 first. So really like the haul for the Kraken. Selling as it's looking like they are not going to be able to make a push this year. Really big fan of the return. They obviously give up some solid guys, some guys that came over, I believe both of these guys in the expansion draft a couple years ago. So they've been with the team since the beginning. Kind of sucky to see them leave, but business decisions were made, and I believe it was the right one here for the Krakens. For the Kraken, the Red Wings, also part of this deal, get a 2025 conditional 4th-round pick, either from Tampa Bay or Edmonton. I believe it is going to be the higher of those two teams. They also, a part of this deal for money purposes, retaining 25% of Gourde's salary. Another deal on this day, the Sharks again at it, acquiring D-man Vincent Desharnais from the Penguins, who received a 2028 fifth-round pick in return. Low scale move there for the Sharks, getting a veteran D-man, maybe not going to obviously do anything this season, as it has been another rough one, but the future is looking bright for San Jose. Gotta like what they're crafting over in Cali. The last move on March 5th is from the Predators. Kind of a surprising move here. They get left winger Michael Bunting in a 2026 4th from the Penguins. The Penguins in return receive centerman Tommy Novak, and D-man Luke Shen, who in a few days is going to be shipped out of Pittsburgh. But kind of an interesting move there. Penguins having a really, really rough season, and decided to get a little bit of value out of Michael Bunting and a couple good players in return for the Penguins. March 6th, we have the Bruins making another deal, giving up right winger Justin Brazeau, the big physical winger, coming to the Wild, another piece that is going to help in this injury ridden time of the year for the Wild. The Bruins in return get a familiar face in centerman Jacob Lauko, a big favorite in Boston, the grape thing, that whole deal. Fun to have him back, but kind of confusing if you let him leave 1-2 seasons ago. I don't know if I see the value in bringing him back, but deal's a deal. They also get, I have no idea how to pronounce this guy's name, but Murat Kushnitdivnov. That butchered. Nice little prospect there who might be able to make an impact in the Bruins in a couple of years, and a 2026 6th-round pick as well. Also on this day, the big deal from this day, Brock Nelson becoming a Colorado Avalanche guy, the centerman, leaving the Islanders, longtime Islander as well. They also get a forward in William DeFore, who is a years out from, I believe, making his NHL debut, but another prospect you take a risk on. In return, the Islanders get Callum Ritchie, who I like, Oliver Killington, the D-man, a 2026 first-round pick, and a conditional 2028 pick as well, a third-rounder. Really like the deal for the Avalanche. Brock Nelson coming off a pretty solid performance in the Four Nations. Had been an assistant captain for the Islanders for a few years now. Immediately, the Islanders trading Oliver Killington to the Ducks for future considerations that still haven't been named. Also on this day, the Oilers acquire a D-man in Jake Wallman, adding to their blue line strength, and deal with the Sharks, who get a prospect in Carl Berglund and a conditional 2026 first round pick as well. The Capitals strengthening their forward group in a veteran in Anthony Beauvillier, which I love. The Panthers on their little fire sale getting a 2025 second round pick in return. The Flyers getting in on some deals, giving up Andrei Kuzmenko and a 2025 seventh rounder to the Kings. In return, the Philadelphia Flyers get a 2027 third round pick. Another big deal on this day, Dylan Cousins being shipped out of Buffalo, the younger defenseman, younger centerman, who has been, it's been up and down in Buffalo as the last few years have been, but lots of upside for Cousins. The Senators are going to love this centerman, I believe. D-man Dennis Gilbert also coming over in the deal, and a 2026 second round pick for the Senators. In return, the Sabres received centerman Josh Norris and D-man Jacob Bernard Docker. Really like the deal for the Senators. I would say pretty even deal all around there, though. As I mentioned earlier, Luke Schenn wouldn't be on the Penguins for long. He gets shipped off to Winnipeg, kind of covering their bacon right now. They have the best goaltender in the league in Connor Hellebuck, currently leading the league in, let me get this right, goaltending, all three goaltending stats, the main ones, goals against at 1.99 on the season, 0.927, save percentage, 92%, we'll round up, call it 93, and as well as 38 wins, 8 more than the second place tie between Vasilevsky and Jake Ottinger. Just an unreal season for Winnipeg and Hellebuck. They weren't done in the trade department, as they also acquire forward Brandon Tanev from the Kraken. In return, Seattle gets a 2027 second round pick. The Maple Leafs get in on the action as well with a deal for Scott Lofton, the centerman. They also receive a fourth round pick and a sixth round pick. In return, the Flyers get Nikita Grebekin, a conditional 2027 first round pick, and they retain 50% of Lofton's salary. Maple Leafs, kind of interesting. It came out that Mitchell Marner was linked to a deal for Mikko Rantanen, and he refused to waive his no trade clause, which you have to respect. He wants to be in Toronto. He has been in Toronto his whole career. But we'll see if that does any damage, any ripples to the chemistry there. We are to March 7th. I apologize. Since the Brock Nelson deal, we have been on March 7th, the trade deadline. And this is the big one, not the Brock Nelson one, not the Dylan Cousins one, although those are massive trades. The big one, is the man you saw in the title of the video and the thumbnail, Mikko Rantanen, joining his third team of the season, coming over from Carolina after it was determined that he was not willing to sign an extension with the Hurricanes, even though the Hurricanes offered him $500,000 more per year than the Stars. Maybe the no tax in Texas, whatever it is. The Stars were one of 4 teams apparently that Rantanen wanted to be with, and they get a deal done. They sign him to an 8-year extension for $12 million a year and get a generational player in Rantanen. People say that, he was only good because he was playing with one of the best players in the league in Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar in Colorado. I say if you're a 100-point player, if you can put up 100 points in a season, sure, it helps having those stars around you, but you got to be a damn good player yourself. And Rantanen is that. He has shown that so far in Dallas, although they haven't been undefeated. I believe they're 1-1 since the trade deadline. He has scored in both games, albeit an open netter in the second game, but goal's a goal. And looking like propelling Dallas into that contending category. They are already one of the better teams in the Western Conference. You top that off with one of the best pieces of the deadline and sign him to a long-term deal. They also extended Wyatt Johnston to a long-term deal, just locking things down over there in Dallas. A sport where something is going right for a Dallas team, which is good to see, good to feel. I'm happy for Dallas Stars fans. Another tough deal for the Bruins, but I do like the return. The Bruins give up Charlie Coyle, the Massachusetts own centerman, and a 2026 fifth-round pick. In return, they receive Casey Middlestat, who I am a fan of. He's younger. He has been up and down in Colorado. Kind of hard, to get that ice time when you're behind guys like McKinnon, like the strength that the Avalanche have, but do like Middlestat there. The Bruins also get a prospect in Will Zellers and a 2025 second-round pick. The Red Wings get in on the trade deadline extravaganza, getting Peter Mrazek and forward Craig Smith as well, ex-Bruin, from the Blackhawks. The Blackhawks kind of going all in on Spencer Knight after seeing the performance that he had, giving him, kind of the keys to the net over there in Chicago. The Blackhawks in return get a forward in Joe Veleno. It's been around for a while. Sharks not done yet, making a deal with the Blue Jackets, giving up Luke Kunin to the Jackets in exchange for a 2025 fourth-round pick from St. Louis. The Devils trading for Cody Glass from the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Penguins receiving a third-round pick as well. Another crazy deal for the Bruins, giving up Brandon Carlo, the D-man who's been with us for years. Tough sending him off to the Maple Leafs. In return, they get one of the Maple Leafs' top prospects in centerman Fraser Mitten. We also get a first-round pick, which I like. And the Penguins also in on this deal, getting Connor Timmins and Connor Dewar from the Leafs. This deal is the one that broke my heart, broke many Bruins fans' hearts. Brad Marchand, the captain of the Bruins, going to our bitter rivals in the Florida Panthers, only for a conditional 2027 second-round pick. Yes, Brad is old. Yes, he was asking for a lot of money. I feel like you have to give it to a guy like that, considering what he's done for the Bruins, being a lifetime Bruin. Would have been awesome to see, but that timeline has gone out the window, and I wish him the best of luck in Florida as much as I would hate to see the Panthers win back-to-back cups. If Brad can get one, I guess I would be happy. The Senators making another trade with the Sharks, getting Fabian Zetterlund, which is crazy move for the Sharks. Kind of opening the way for the Will Smiths. It's tough move, but I like it. In return, they get Zach Ostepchuk, left winger Noah Gregor, and a 2025 second round pick as well. The Senators, on top of Zetterlund, getting a prospect in Tristan Robbins and a fourth round pick. Couple more deals here to wrap up the trade deadline. I will stick with the Bruins. They get Henry Jokiharju from the Sabres, the Finnish defenseman who was solid for the Finns in the Four Nations. The Sabres in return get a 2026 fourth round pick, courtesy of Edmonton, that was owned by the Bruins. Not anymore. The Bruins also trade centerman Mark McLaughlin to the Devils in return for a defenseman in Danny Meisel. Both young-ish guys, haven't really had crazy ice time in NHL, but could be good players for these teams. The Devils replacing the defenseman that they lost in Jens Kolowski from the Islanders, giving up Adam Beckman. The last three deals for the trade deadline: the Avalanche getting D-man Eric Johnson from the Flyers in exchange for forward Giovanni Smith. The Rangers getting Nicolas Aube-Kubel from the Sabres in exchange for Eric Brandstrom. And the Blackhawks obtaining Victor Soderstrom, right wing Akurati, and D-man Shea Weber's contract in exchange for a 2026 sixth-round pick the Utah Hockey Club obtained. Wow, lots of yap about the trade deadline, lots of crazy moves. I'm going to kind of dive more into the prediction side of things here. Vezina, it's going to be Hellebuck, currently leading in all three stats unless something goes very, very wrong for the Jets to end the season. He has the award locked down. Nathan MacKinnon being the first man to 100 points, sitting at 102 right now. Believe he is going to end the season as the point leader in the NHL. The Rocket Richard, I think Leon Draisaitl should have it locked up. He has a 10-goal lead over second place William Nylander. It's going to be tough for him to make it up, but there is a lot of time. And as for the playoffs, let's jump into that a little bit. In the Eastern Conference, you see the wild card up. First, in the Atlantic, the Florida Panthers are leading the Atlantic with 83 points, 2 points ahead of the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are at 81. And the third spot in the Atlantic is being held at the moment by the Tampa Bay Lightning, sitting at 78 points. Ottawa follows them up at 73. You see them as first in the wild card in the East. Montreal sitting at 69 points. Detroit sitting at 68. Boston sitting at 68 as well. These three teams kind of running out of time. There are about 20 games left, but it's getting tight. It's getting tight. As for the Metropolitan, we have Washington, the current leader out east, tied right now for the President Trophy in the NHL with Winnipeg at 94 points. Carolina sitting in that 2 spot at 82. And the Devils in the 3 spot at 76. Columbus right on the Devils' tails, 6 points back at 70, but currently holding the second and final wild card spot in the East. And then those 3 Atlantic teams, as I mentioned, Montreal, Detroit, Boston, the Rangers right there sitting at 68 as well. The Eastern wild card race is insane. I think the Rangers, they're getting hot at the right time. That JT Miller trade was huge for them. It's going to be tough, man. The Blue Jackets kind of coming out of nowhere, doing it for Gaudreau. What a feel-good story it would be for them to make it into the playoffs and maybe go on a little run. The Senators making it in for the first time in a little while. Lots of fun storylines out east. As a Bruins fan, unfortunately, I know we are 2-0 out of the trade deadline. I'm going to say after the fire sale at the deadline, it's too little too late for Boston. Maybe this new group is feeling some type of way, feeling the noise, and wants to prove those people wrong. That would be awesome to see. I personally don't foresee it happening. I unfortunately think the teams below that as well, the Islanders, kind of selling, the Flyers making so-so deals, the Penguins selling. I would say all those teams are kind of done from playoff contention, but watch out for that top 5. Detroit, Rangers, Canadians, Blue Jackets, Senators. It's going to be a fun close to the Eastern Conference. We'll see what happens. Personally, sorry to go back to the East. If I had to say right now, I think it's going to be really, really hard to knock off Florida in the playoffs in a 7-game series. I know Washington is having an amazing season. Ovi chasing Wayne Gretzky's goal record. I believe 9 or 10 goals away at the time of this recording. It's just games before it happens. Don't want to disrespect what Washington has done, but I personally don't see a team knocking off the Florida Panthers in the playoffs, at least in the East. We will see. Out West, still pretty fun, pretty tight. I wouldn't say as enjoyable as the Eastern Conference, but starting in the Central Division, as I said, Winnipeg tied for the President's Trophy right now at 94 points with the Capitals. The Dallas Stars becoming one of the odds-on favorites to win the Stanley Cup after the Rantanen trade, sitting at 86, second in the Central, and the Colorado Avalanche at 81 in the Central. In an interesting spot after the Rantanen trade. They were also apparently in a similar position that he wasn't going to resign, got what they could out of it, really liked the moves at the deadline. It's a new look Avs team, kind of, sort of. Obviously, they still have McKinnon and Makar, they're core guys, but it's those role pieces. We'll see what they can bring in. You have the Minnesota Wild, who are first in the wild card out west at 78. And then you have a kind of steep drop off in the Central with the Blues at 69, the Hockey Club at 69, and then Nashville and Chicago really, really struggling to round out the Central. In the Pacific, we have the Vegas Golden Knights at 83. The Pacific kind of weaker compared to as it has been the last few seasons. Edmonton at 78 points in second, and the Kings sitting in third at 77. Calgary and Vancouver rounding it out at 71 each, and then the bottom 3 in San Jose, Seattle, and Anaheim. Looking at the wild card, Minnesota and Calgary, those 1 and 2 teams at the moment. Vancouver right on the Flames' tail, tied with 71. The Blues and the Hockey Club tied at 69, as I said. Similar to the East, I would say it's those top 5 teams in the wild card that are going to have a shot at making it. I believe the other teams, it's a little too late. Sellers at the deadline, most of them. If I had to say today, I think the Canucks, they've been dealing with some injuries. Hughes has been out for a while. I think they're going to right the ship. They were the team at the start of the year. And then Winnipeg, it's kind of taken over that role. Surprising to see the Flames here. Would be cool to see them get in after some years of struggle. I think the Canucks are going to sneak their way into this, honestly. It would be really cool to see the Hockey Club make it in their first year. But I'm going to go with the Wild. I'm going to go with the Canucks. And I'm going to say, as, impressive as the Stars have been in the moves, that Western Conference final, Winnipeg, Dallas, Central, rivalry matchup. That would be pretty peak. But we have a little bit of time before the end of the season. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Would love anything that you guys have to say. Let me know if I missed anything, any big deals that I didn't talk about. I believe we covered all of them, but there were some that happened earlier in the year that I didn't really talk about. But let me know your thoughts. Exciting end to the NHL season, and we have some March Madness content coming out to round out the week. The bracket coming out on Sunday, which just cannot wait for that. But for now, I'm going to sign off. And I'm going to hit you guys with this song of the pod for today, which for me is Rome by the B-52s. Classic movie song. You guys know it, but that's what I got for the day. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you in the next one. Later, everyone.